Hi all, and here and welcome back to the channel for a tutorial that I did not realise was as simple as it was until I undertook this, and that is the draining of the coolant on the Audi TT Mk1. When Audi were designing the Audi TT Mk1, they have obviously put some thought into how the maintenance is going to be undertaken on this vehicle in the future, because they added a very handy drainage tap just on the passenger side of the UK car behind the radiator on the coolant hose. And to access that, you would need to remove the under tray from the engine, because it would be easier to access this tap from below. I'm going to try and identify this for you on the car and explain the process behind it. Reason I'm doing this is the engine is coming out of the car no matter what. So I'm thinking, let's get the fluids drained out of it so they're not going to be pouring all over the garage floor when we eventually lift the engine out. First step in this process is to remove the under tray if you have one on the car. Now, I cover that in a previous video which you can find linked above, so if you need instructions on how to remove the under tray, please check that out. The next step for us is to loosen the coolant expansion tank lid so that we've got no vacuum in the system and the water should just flow out. So let's do that first. This globe-shaped vessel here is the coolant expansion tank, and on a UK car it's positioned just in front of the bulkhead above the driver's side wheel, and to allow the coolant fluid to flow out when we drain it, we need to simply remove the cap. Obviously, don't do this when the engine is hot because you're going to get burnt. Only remove this when the engine is cold. We've got the passenger side in the air. It's supported on an axle stand, so I can get the camera underneath this left-hand side of the car and show you where this tap is. To give you some orientation, this is the cross pipe that joins the two intercoolers together. This is the bottom of the radiator. And just here, underneath this shroud, which I'm going to pull down because it's already taken off, you can see this tap here and this outlet for the coolant. So it's probably best to put a pipe on this outlet here, just over the top, so we've got something for it to run off to into a bucket, and then we can loosen this tap off. So let me see if I can find a piece of pipe to go on here. Because we're limited to space under here, I'm not going to put a full height bucket, but instead I've got a washing up bowl. I'm going to position it close enough to the car that it's underneath, but also within range of this piece of handy coolant pipe that I'm going to attach to that drain outlet. And I'm going to push this piece of coolant hose over that. Doesn't need to be a super snug fit, because it just needs to be enough to grip tight so we don't get a major leak. I'm going to put the other end of that in the bucket. So with that all set up, let's loosen that tap. So the tap itself isn't just a case of turning it on or off. If I put my hand around the back and I loosen the tap, you can see straight away I pull that out to release the coolant. You might notice the hose has now turned pink. To give you an idea again, I loosen the tap off anti-clockwise, and then I pull the tap outwards to release the coolant. The coolant is flowing out of the radiator into this bucket. Now the coolant in this car looks quite clean and new, so that's a good sign. Must have been serviced quite recently, just to show about the engine. So we'll leave that to run to empty all the coolant into this bucket. We can see the coolant expansion tank is now almost empty, but we're going to use this in a moment to flush the radiator through. So to ensure the coolant is all flushed through, I'm also going to add another 2 litres of water out of this bottle into the expansion tank and observe to make sure that is still all flowing through and coming out the other end, which we can see it still is, and there is still fluid coming out of here, and it had stopped a moment ago. Interestingly, the expansion tank has still got plenty of liquid in it, so it hasn't flowed through that quickly.
After a minute or so, the expansion tank had emptied.
Now, refilling this car with coolant afterwards is simply a reversal of the process, remembering that you must close off that tap underneath, or when you fill it up with coolant through the coolant expansion tank, it's just going to flow straight out of the car. So remember to do up that tap again. I'm also going to leave here on screen the volume of coolant that you need to add to your car, and also the ratio that you need to add to water for your particular climate.
Hopefully you found today's tutorial useful, and if you have, then please do give this video a thumbs up, and also think about subscribing to my channel if you've not already done so, where you'll find a whole host of content on the Audi TT Mk1 and of course the progress of this project car. As always, thanks for watching and see you soon. Take care.